Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 11th of April, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar index. We're seeing that pushing higher still, having broken out last week. Remembering this is the weekly, daily, and 60-minute chart. So we're seeing all these daily candles breaking higher. We did touch above 100 on the dollar index for the first time in nearly 2 years, but it's bullish on all three time frames, and we've activated this new upside target to 103. So it does look like we're going a few percent higher. Euro is weaker. Of course, the main news is the French elections at the moment, and Le Pen seen as negative potentially for the euro, just extra political turmoil in Europe. And so we are just seeing the euro is still looking bearish. It activated last week, this downside target, some 5% lower. So, and still some very long-term targets. And of course, we put out our euro report to clients with our long-term targets there. The yen is sitting at 125, so that's weaker as well against that stronger dollar. Really a big surge there. And we're just about to see a break to multi-new highs as well. So, will be quite key there. And if we look at sterling, we're just nudging this 130 level. Disappointing economic growth numbers out this morning for sterling, and we are just falling below the cloud against the dollar. It looks like sterling will end up the week weaker for that. Watch that March low, which we're just testing at the moment. Against the euro, however, sterling is looking more bullish. We have been above the 120 level, and we do have this upside target now, 125.22, which was given and activated last week. So sterling has the upper hand here still, and back to pre-pandemic levels. Looking at Bitcoin, we're sitting at 42,000, fairly static here at the moment. Just below the cloud this last week on the short-term chart, but medium and long-term, finding support. So still looking pretty good there on the longer term. The S&P 500 index was down on Friday, and it looks set to open lower today, with the future down 0.6% and the NASDAQ future down over 1%. So we are seeing that looking like the emergence of the lower high before we see the lower low. And of course, we did find cloud support last time on the long-term chart, like we did back in 2020. Will we go lower through the cloud? That will be the key. Looking at the VIX volatility, we're sitting at just under 23. That's a level that's historically high for the VIX, but and we are just seeing this trend up. But for the moment, medium term, we're back below the cloud. Really, above in the 30s is where the market is fearful. The FTSE future down 0.25% this morning. The cash market in Germany down 1%. Interestingly, the Paris market is actually just slightly up, given those French elections, but key levels here at the moment are the German market is lower. Asia was mostly lower. We saw China down 2.6%. That's falling into long-term bearish territory for the Chinese market. Downside target met. That's bearish confirmation. A further 10% downside, quite conceivable. The Indian market was down 0.5%, and the Aussie market bucked the trend, up 0.1%. Still the best-looking market in Asia. In Asia Pacific, with that hasn't activated these downside targets, so that's quite key there. Looking at the energy mix, we'll look at that in a minute. But looking at some of the commodities, we've got wheat up 1%, still looking very strong, having spiked up on that on the Russia-Ukraine situation, of course. Gold is higher this morning, up 0.5%. Breaking, it was stuck at that 130s level for ages. It's now at 19, so that 1930s level for ages. We're now at 1950 and pushing higher this morning. A lot of talk about the ruble and the tie to the potential tie between the ruble and gold, but the reality is gold is on its own just looking pretty strong still. Targets 2,400 is still very much in train, and a new one if we go higher to 2,680. Looking at silver, we're up strongly there this morning as well. Palladium up nearly 5%, so a really big move there as well. And US 10-year yield sitting at 2.75% now, so just motoring. Yields just showing no signs of falling away. Apple, UK's sort of bellwether big stock, just setting up for potentially another downside target. We have to watch for that. So still looking bearish below the cloud short term. Tech having likely another tough week. Crude oil prices down this morning, not enough to take us to new lows though. Looking at the 60-minute chart, we're lower, so it does look like a weak day ahead for crude. US nat gas still holding above that $6 level, so looking pretty strong. A couple of short-term downside targets, but looking pretty strong for today. Coal still a feature, holding higher on that potential ban of Russian coal. Emissions just struggling, down 2% this morning. Really been stuck in the 70s for ages, and we are seeing gas prices, TTF, lower. We did go out to clients this morning with a bearish call for today for TTF, but the interesting thing is we need to just hold that March low, and of course similar for MBP, down this morning as well. Looking at German power, we are seeing the CAL down a bit, but it did make new highs last week, so looking very strong there. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you there.